Welcome back to Weekly World News Tonight. I'm Brian Krasman at the news desk. With me, as always, to my left is Jim DeBruzzo. To my right, anchorman Tom Combetti. Rennie DeTore is on assignment. What do you guys want to talk about?
Well, before we get
How about
started,
TV shows? We've been doing a pretty good job of that.
well, before we get started, maybe it should be brought up that Rennie did throw an XFL party over the weekend. I believe he was hurt in the melee that ensued, after the opening coin toss. I think he blew his knee out or something to that effect. But Rennie, we wish you well, buddy, and come back, I guess.
Well, we'll see how today's show goes, and if we need him to come back, we'll see.
Well, okay. We're going to talk about... No, I didn't mean that in any bad way to Rennie. Sorry to offend any fans at home who thought it was too non-serious during that. But, yeah. We're going to talk about Raw from this past week. We're going to go to an exciting clip right now in a match that I think probably sets up the two main events for No Way Out. We had Steve Austin and Triple H teaming up against The Rock and Kurt Angle, the current WWF champion. Guys, I'd like to point out that Kurt Angle said the funniest thing he's ever said in his career. He said, "Whoop, there it is."
You didn't like that song back in the day, Brian?
Not really.
Oh,
Everybody gets
good.
down with that song. What a magical moment that was, I tell you. This tag match kind of odd, I like the Austin. It may not mean much to everybody else, but just different seeing Austin, playing up the calm, cool, collected guy going into the...
Steve Austin and Triple H is going to be the main event per se, but I think it's Kurt Angle against The Rock for the WWF title. And I think, though, now with the introduction of the Big Show into The Rock's story, that I don't necessarily think Rock taking the title is a given.
Well, I mean, as much as I dislike The Rock, and obviously that's a well-gone conclusion on this show, if he does beat Kurt Angle at this pay-per-view, can you say transition champion like we talked about in the past couple of weeks? I realize that Austin and The Rock will have a big money match at WrestleMania, but WrestleMania sells WrestleMania. Do you really need to just wait for next year? What the hell? Angle Austin is perfect for now, assuming that is the match for WrestleMania.
Yeah, this is one of those years where Austin isn't, putting up his title shot, losing the title shot or whatever, but...
Not yet.
Yeah, okay, that's true too. But I think you got enough, like you said, enough evidence now. You're going to see Rock come down, Big Show come down, cost Rock the match, maybe injure him, not injure him, maybe injure him at WrestleMania, and Rock takes the time off he needs to film whatever movie he's filming this year.
Well, if that is the storyline, I don't think they will have the angle actually where Big Show injures The Rock. I think he'll do it honestly, legit, because the Big Show, he's so fast, Jim.
Cheetah-like.
Rock won't be able to see him moving across the ring, and he'll just blow that knee out
How do you
again. Like
wrestle a
Ray.
man who's so fast like that? You can't even touch him. Man.
It's like Horror Man, without the disappearance act by Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Not also without the bad acting by Kevin Bacon.
Well, I think that they'll, if you do get Rock, Kurt Angle as your heavyweight title match for No Way Out, I think a logical conclusion of the match would be Big Show costing Rock the title. There's been talk that they're going to try to downgrade The Rock a little bit going into WrestleMania because the month afterward he's going to be filming the Scorpion King, which is the prequel to The Mummy. Anyway, he won't be wrestling house shows and things like that.
That's just, you never expect to hear
That's
that on
the
this
title,
show.
man.
Scorpion King prequel, that's...
I'm not making this stuff up, man. I can't, that's too good to make up.
What exactly does the Scorpion King have to do with a mummy?
He's in
Well, maybe that's one of our trivia questions for next week.
Is the Scorpion King actually the one brought back this time in the Mummy movie?
I think he's the mummy. He plays the mummy's lover, actually.
I mean, come on. The movie's going to suck.
Brendan Fraser. Let's not, before we go on a tirade about movies and about what rocks and what doesn't and what we dig and what we don't, let's just, Brendan Fraser sucks, by the way. But anyway, about Raw last night. We talked about this earlier before the show went on, and we do talk about stuff before the show goes on, people. We do like each other.
Yeah, we just don't talk about wrestling before the show comes on.
It's our writer's job, Jim.
Researchers,
Writers.
Right.
But, Brian, you liked Raw last night.
Yeah,
Right on ProWrestlingReview.com. Read the review. It was a decent show. It just seems like they really kicked it in overdrive right now. Or, I'm sorry, automatic pilot, if you prefer. Just doesn't. The return of Eddie Guerrero obviously was a good thing for Raw, with the lightened hair, the WWF, I should say.
And he looked bigger.
He must have laid off that beer like he did in WCW right before he got really big. Beer.
I meant in a muscular type of way. He seemed like he had a little bit, like his arm.
That's the way I took it.
I don't know. I'm sorry, Jim. You.
Not to gloss over the fact that, but obviously Guerrero's return is a plus, as I said, for Raw, whatever the hell that meant. But other than that, last night, Raw, well, we talked about the cat and the right to nudity thing. Is there anybody out there that actually thought she was going to get naked last night on Raw besides me?
Well, I was leaning 50-50, to be honest with you.
I was more like 90-20. That 10% differential, Jim. I can't add people.
Wow. But no, I don't know. I think Raw's been, I don't want to say flat overall for the last couple of months, but there's been seemed like some dead spots. When I say dead spots, I still mean better than anything WCW's put out recently. That just seems like you said, they're in cruise control. You know, the radio team really has to pick it up and, elevate some people. Heaven forbid you do something like that.
I just got to point something out. And I pointed this out actually on the online review on our website. Jerry Lawler, the whole thing with the cat, was screaming and yelling, "Get naked, get naked." And she was upset he was upset at the end when she didn't get naked. Jerry sees her naked every night. I mean, they're married. What's he complaining about?
Well, she's the only person on earth that believes when he said he was 25 years old while they got married. She believed him, so who knows about Lawler? Hey.
Yeah.
Probably best to get out of the segment on that note.
Yeah, on that note, we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit about this past week's Monday Nitro and about the Phase 3 of Eric Bischoff pushing his hunting buddies. We'll be back right after this.
From the Monday night shows is that Rick Steiner did some eating on his time off. I think that's safe to say. Did a lot of eating, in fact.
Being good hunting buddies with Eric Bischoff, I mean, when you're in that tree stand, what else are you going to do besides munch on some Pop Rocks or whatever the hell they're
called? You eat what you kill. And hunting down those Pop Rocks are very
You eat what you kill. How does that apply to Bischoff? Let's see.
Well, Bischoff killed WCW. I don't see anybody eating them. But, we talk about Eric Bischoff and his hunting buddies. But, all right. Rick Steiner and Shane Douglas squared off for the the ECW US title. For the WC, Rennie come back. I swear, I think Rennie must be our beacon of strength here, because it's like without him, we're screwing everything up.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
For the WCWS title, it's obvious that Shane Douglas suffered an arm injury, but couldn't they have signed Scott Hall or somebody to come out and take the title? What a way to kill locker room morale by giving big fat Rick Steiner, who's you could put a chicken leg in front of him, he wouldn't be motivated. Giving him the U.S. title, and he's jumping up and down. And in case I didn't get a chance to say my catchphrase earlier, give me a break.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where Shane Douglas is hurt again, and God, I hope it's a transitional champion. I really hope that. You know
what disturbs me the most about this? There was a time when both Rick and Scott Steiner were two great wrestlers, even good behind the mic. What happened to that?
They both got fat in different ways.
Well, the gun went off in Rick's face. I know his story, but what about Scott?
Oh, man. Well, speaking of Rick Steiner, we're going to go to a clip from Nitro this past week. The main event was Kevin's
Brotherly Love, another awful TV reference, but
that's right.
Stop me.
So, there's no faces left.
So let's count who's left on the Nash side. It's Nash, the Cats, Brian Adams. Brian Clark's hurt right now.
He did come back last night on Nitro, didn't he?
Yeah, he's going to be out for a couple weeks, out from action.
But like Brian Adams said, he went home and stitched that wound up himself and was laughing the whole time. Wow, where'd you get a doctorate at?
Brian,
let's not forget
I can't do that.
Brian Adams probably gave him a little something to comfort the wound.
Ooh, cheap shot. But let's not forget Dallas Page on that. And I actually included Miss Jones into my earlier faceless because there's nobody else.
There really is.
Well, Page might be out too. Did you see him crawling along the floor in the back? And they offered him a milkshake and he said no.
You know what? Cannon's been out a while. How about we bring him back and give him a face?
Jim, that sounds like a terrific idea. I like it. But
you attack Dallas Page. Man, I said it last week. I'm going to say it probably for the next 6 weeks. They miss Booker T like you wouldn't believe.
They miss a lot of things like you wouldn't believe.
Well, story,
booking being
writing,
one of them.
Yeah, but Booker T is at the forefront of all that.
But let me ask you guys this. I mean, how upset are you guys if you're some of the younger guys in the back, who've been trying hard and who've been working every single week for the past 2 years, and you see Rick Steiner come back and all of a sudden he's got the United States title on him. Whether it was the Shane Douglas injury or not. Same old, same old.
Well, honestly, being that WCW is going to shut down in a few months as the change of ownership takes over, or so the reports go, it's just going to be another April Nitro with Vince Russo. Well, not Vince Russo coming back this time, but similar to the one they had in April, reintroducing the company. So whatever happens right now, in my opinion, is just moot. It's been moot for 3 years.
I don't think they're going to strip all the titles like they did before, nor should they. If Scott Steiner's still a champ, then I think you get behind him. Well, I guess you could say re-get behind him or whatever. But getting back to your question, you know what?
Get behind them.
Yeah, if you're going to restart, I don't know what
that's
that
good
means.
grammar.
'Cause they actually stopped pushing them for a while. I don't know. I'm jacked up on medicine today.
Well, not even so much just stripping the titles away. I mean, the titles are just obviously fictitious, but as far as when Bischoff does come back, guess who comes back? You have Paige, probably all the titles in one hand, and the women's title if they still have one in WCW. All Bischoff's friends, and the mid-carders and even low-level guys, and I don't mean that derogatory, they're just going to be shunned away again.
Here's the
XPW is going to be calling. Answer the phone.
That's why they can't go to WWF anymore. Here's the thing, though. They can't do that now. They can't.
Jim.
But they
It's
can't.
WCW, Jim. They had a King of the Road match.
Jim. Relax. They're going to do it.
I know they're going to
Just
do it.
let's not talk about it.
Fair enough.
All right, it's gonna happen.
Because Bischoff's big on those hip concepts. Oh, new set, 7-0, guaranteed rating. Hey, it's a set. You look at it for 2 seconds and get old.
You know what? You bring something actually just from one of the words you say. Is it just me or is Nitro? And I don't know. I hate this word, but I'm going to use it anyway. Is Nitro getting less and less hip every week? It's really, really like losing that sort of aura of coolness that it used to have.
Brian, I can answer that in one little diatribe here, one little graph. Dallas Page walks through the crowd and people cheer. What the hell is wrong with this picture?
Oh, it's a live crowd. I don't think you can really judge as
But
much.
w-
I think people put too much stock in that.
Well, how about this? Page thinks he's cool. There's your answer
Page is
right
an
there.
Idiot. I mean,
He's not an idiot, bro. I mean, Brian.
Bang.
I don't know about that. It's just one of those things where, like I said before, they got to get to the point where some of the younger guys like O'Hare, the 3 count, I can't remember.
Shane Helms.
Shannon Moore, thank you. It's just one of those things, getting back to what I said before, you have to give these guys some time and some room. I mean, yeah, you say they can't do it or they're not going to do it. They have to do it, or WCW is going to be dead in 6 months.
Yeah, but are they going to have enough time to actually be able to show what they have? I mean, WCW just pretty much laid off all their women. I know there's a joke waiting to form right there, but you talk about, being less hip every week. Well, that's as much as, women are basically not used right in the same manner they were back in the 80s, I guess you could say. Women are hip in wrestling. I mean, guys do tune in to watch them, not these guys. Well, maybe these guys, who knows.
Well, it goes to show you where, I mean, sure, they're going to do a little bit of an overhaul of the roster, but, they're trying to hack off the women. You just cut Daphne, one of the most talented women in all of wrestling. If she went to the WWF right now, she could be one of the top 3 women that they have. She can work. She has a good character. But, well, we can't have women, so we keep Miss Hancock. Nice going.
Oh, yeah, who is the father, by the way?
I don't know. Yeah.
A Brian
Wow,
Pillman
no
reference,
comment.
by the way, but...
We better get out of here before we get sued. We're going to come back. We're going to talk. We're going to give you an update on some of the ECW guys. A couple more guys signed at the WWF this week. And we're going to talk about some of the guys perhaps the WWF should start phasing out. We'll be right back.
Trifecta segment, I guess you could call it. We're going to talk about some of the roster cuts that should go on in the WWF, and believe me, there are some. Well, what a great intro, guys. Why didn't you just push me out of my chair? It would have been a lot better.
We kind of let you sink or swim,
Oh, thank you, and I sank like a damn rock. But anyway, I want to be cut. Anyway.
Okay, cut
Save
it,
me,
Mike.
Kenny!
Mike.
Cut him ready. Yeah, okay, well, anyway, we talked... trying to save it. But anyway, we talked last week about some of the ECW guys who were negotiating with WWF and WCW. Hey, there's been some progress. Well, we talked about Just Incredible signed. This past Friday, news broke that both Rhino and Jerry Lynn had agreed to verbal deals with the WWF, which basically means that they agreed to the terms. They just don't have the paperwork in order yet.
Yeah, it's great they did that before last week's show aired in my rant on Rhino.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Rhino.
That's happened to you
Appreciate
a
it.
couple times.
I know. It's a big piece of garbage.
You ought to just start saying things we want to happen.
That's true. Well, I did say these 3 jabronis should be fired, and one did. Road
See,
Dogg,
I'm
as a
telling
matter
you,
of fact.
we could implicitly book all of wrestling just by your
Wow.
rants.
We should
Hey,
try
the
that.
day I talked about that Undertaker Kane mask match, remember when he ripped the mask off? That pay-per-view, the mask came off. I bet you that fat-ass Kevin Kelly's watching this show.
Somebody has to be.
Beep.
Well, the 2 other guys who, there was progress with one. It looks like Super Crazy is going to debut with WCW Monday night, which is a good move for him because he would have just been like a taco vendor with WWF or something. And it looks like Yoshihiro Tajiri is pretty much, sources are saying 90% sure he's going to go to the WWF. Sorry, Tajiri. It was nice having you. be a legitimate contender for a while. But
hey, they mean it this time, man. They're serious about the cruiserweight division in the WWF.
Does Vince know how tall Tajiri is right now before hiring him?
he's probably gonna come in like who's
this little guy? He
Talk against
wandered
your
into the
son.
office.
yeah.
But you know what? We should point out that Tajiri's going to be making money hand over fist here, so we shouldn't really be too critical of that move.
And I believe Super Crazy is going to get to be El Nino too, and he's going to get to be put in a Steiner recliner for 6.5 minutes on Nitro.
Just a little random thought here. Didn't El Nino wrestle better with the mask than Ray has the past 2 years without it?
Magic.
You know what I was really hoping, and I actually thought it was going to be Ray under the mask. We talked about that before Nitro, actually. I thought, it'd be great if it was Ray as El Nino, which it was. He'd take off the El Nino mask, he'd have the Ray Jr. mask on, and the announcers would sell it like they knew what the hell it was.
Well, Scott Hudson would say it's Dusty Rhodes under a mask. Let's be serious.
See, Jimmy should have ran it on this last
I ran
week.
about this last week. I didn't know about El Nino last week.
Then it would have been like magic.
The Nino, Jim.
I was just the horny little he-devil still.
Oh, God. Well, with these guys signing with the WWF, especially Rhino, I mean, you're losing your heavyweight champion. Can we start lighting the incense? I mean, is ECW dead? It's got to be dead.
Well, Paul Heyman's still hell-bent on running that March pay-per-view when your champion will be wrestling Taz for the announcing job on Sunday Night Heat, but he's going to wrestle in the world title match against Chili Willy, Kid Cash,
Right.
or Danny Doring, the only guys still left in ECW.
Too, I believe. Balls Mahoney actually still there. He hasn't been offered a contract, oddly enough. You know what I'd do? This is kind of a risky move, but if he's hell-bent on doing this pay-per-view, he has nobody. Almost do what Nitro did last year. Start over. Strip the title. The title.
Yeah.
And just go out and get some independent guys. Get some of the independent guys like Reckless Youth. Maybe you can bring Sanchez, York, and Matthews back, and get some other guys from this area. And what do you have to lose at this point?
Absolutely nothing. But my idea, I might even have mentioned this last week on the show, to have the March pay-per-view have one match for the ECW World title, just one match, and the rest of the 3 hours is a highlight of the company in its 5-6 years in existence. Be a great pay-per-view. But, I'm a visionary.
Well, you know what? If they're serious about restarting the company, that wouldn't be a bad idea. If people are going to see, maybe, you get a new fan out of it, such as it is, but, people get the history of ECW, maybe you re-strengthen the core group of fans that you do have by showing that.
I think I'm sorry, Tom.
No, go ahead, Brian. It wasn't that important anyway.
I honestly think the best idea, what ECW should do with their pay-per-view, I think it's time for Paul Heyman to just wave the white flag. He's got a booking job on the table for him at the WWF. Jim Ross was pretty much on his knees begging and crying at his roster report this week for him to go. I think what he ought to do with the pay-per-view is I think he ought to talk to Vince about bringing, letting have some of the guys like Taz, like the Dudleys, bring Sabu in for a night, to nearly take someone's life. Bring in some of the older guys that people remember from ECW and do one last big pay-per-view. Just have one big blowout and, just end the company on a good note. Everybody in the ring at the end, with Heyman thanking the fans and just say, hey, look, this is it. And,
Great idea, Brian, but you forgot one crucial detail. They have to sign autographs after the show, after the pay-per-view,
right,
to send it off properly.
Correct.
I was going to say, they obviously aren't going to get paid for the show, or that just...
Well, mall dollars do count for something, Jim.
That's right.
Well, they have those Visa Bucks cards now. You could just,
They count as money.
he can give them a little bit of an
Camel
allowance.
Cash, maybe.
Camel Cash.
Big Show will be there if they get paid off in that, that's for sure.
Well, we spent most of the time talking about ECW and its problems instead of the WWF's roster cuts and who we should get rid of. Well,
Maybe we should wait till we're almost out of time. Maybe we'll wait next segment.
Why the hell not?
So I don't know. I mean, are we in agreement? Do you think this is has ECW come to the conclusion?
Yeah, I think everybody in our audience should start singing that song, na 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 na, hey hey, goodbye.
No, I mean, I don't want to get insulting with them.
Why
I mean,
not?
because they were a very influential force in pro wrestling.
From 95 to 97.
But you know what? They were the company that influenced wrestling. Wouldn't be what it is today without them. And people say WCW all the time, and that's not true. WCW revolutionized the way television is produced, the way the Monday night television programs are done. I mean, they brought competition back and they made the shows good. They didn't create wrestling the way it was. ECW did.
Yeah,
and that's why this is sad.
What? I liken ECW to the NWO idea. It was one great idea. They never were able to reinvent themselves. Actually, on both counts. ECW could never adjust. And when they finally did slightly adjust in the past year, going to the more athletic-based, Rob Van Dam, Jerry Lynn, and all that, it was too late.
Well, Brian, real quick before we head out of here, you talk about ECW basically being dead, and yes, I do agree. But when Mike Awesome left and appeared on Nitro as the world champion of ECW, that was the crippling blow right there. I mean, they did survive how many months afterwards, but it finally caught up with them, and it's truly a shame. But
aside from the talent loss, I think it was also a sign that they couldn't go to court and fight for it, even though they had a contract.
What's a contract, Jim? Just words.
But
a couple signatures.
In order to go to court, Jim, you got to have money. You got to have money to fight the case in court, and it just didn't have it. So I'd just like to point out before we go out of this segment, Kid Cash tonight is in Menneson, Pennsylvania on a CWF show. So already on the indie circuit. So we're going to come back, as Tom mentioned, we're going to talk about what the WWF needs to do to accommodate the new ECW talent. Section. And tell them what they'll win, Jim.
Yeah, prizes being offered by our good friends at the Original Pizza Works. 1 extra large pizza with 1 topping, 1 dozen wings, and 2 liters of soda. Redeemable at any of the 3 stores, 1 in DeVosburg, 1 in Jefferson Hills, and 1 in Finleyville.
We might also want to point out the fact where we will give you a question every week on Pro Wrestling Review, and these prizes will be redeemed weekly. One will be giving out a week for, in layman's terms, basically. You have to answer both this question on the show and the one on the website, so no cheating, people. And this week's question, I guess I could call it Question of the Week, name the only person to appear both on Raw and Nitro on the same night. And for you people just tuning in or not listening, drunk, whatever, name the only person to appear on Raw and Nitro in the same night. Can you do it, Brian?
Yes, I can, but Pro Wrestling Review personnel are not eligible to win the delicious pizzas.
Hell.
Yeah. So go to the www.prowrestlingreview.com, go to the trivia section, answer the questions on the website, but you got to answer this question too. And all the winning entries, or all the people who answer it correctly, let's put it that way, we will draw a winner, and you'll get to eat.
But how are they going to get the questions or the answers to us, Brian?
You can mail your answers to prowrestlingreview@lycos.com. Good luck, folks. We're going to talk about ECW again, as we talked about last segment, some of the fellas who left, and I guess more specifically, the WWF. Man. And some of the guys, perhaps, some of the fat they need to trim off in order to accommodate some of these fellas, as I said earlier.
You're already ripping on Big Show.
Well, I was going to bring up the fact that this is the supersized edition of Pro Wrestling Review. 10 extra seconds, people.
Yeah.
10, count them.
We're going to get a little counter at the end of the screen to count you down. These will be the 10 extra seconds. But just to kick things off, I'm going to start off by the first man on the list would be Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn, see ya, bye. You suck. So.
Well, we need to talk about Billy Gunn. I mean, he's been given every opportunity. I don't know if you guys want to elaborate on these picks here, so what the hell? I'm going for it.
Really.
He's been given many chances as a main eventer at times, and it just didn't work. It didn't materialize, as they say. So, goodbye, Billy. We have a nice severance package for you with a Kurt Angle picture on the front of the folder.
You think you get a T-shirt with that, too? PWR T-shirt, perhaps.
Oh.
My first pick would be the Good Father, Godfather, whatever you want to call him. He's just played out all his cards. I mean, what else can you do with him right now? Or ever, for that matter.
Yeah, well, I can just even say, like, with Billy Gunn and Goodfather, I mean, I agree with that. These are also the guys, too, that I don't necessarily know that I'd fire these two guys, but I'd at least make them, like, guys who would just wrestle on Jacked every week. Because, I mean, you do need guys for that show, but they'd be job guys.
Gangrel's getting old wrestling in every match, so I understand what you're saying, Brian, about Jack.
About him,
yeah.
man.
And he's coming back.
Oh, well, let us all rejoice in hell ye yonder.
Well, I got two guys, and I don't want them to be fired at all. But here we go. We have Al Snow and Taz. Two great workers when motivated, when given something to do. Taz is running the wrestling school for Tough Enough, or whatever the hell the competition's called.
As is Squire Dave Taylor.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. Tell me
Dave Taylor, this is for you.
God.
But Taz is the announcer, is the broadcaster. Yeah, that's good. But Taz is just being wasted. I mean, that's a good role for Taz, but he could be so much more to the WWF. Al Snow, great wrestler. I don't know why nothing has ever come about with Al Snow.
I think it's also the same situation with Al Snow. Is what are you going to do with him? I mean, you have nothing. You've had nothing to do with him before the talent influx.
But they have a guy like Big Boss Man who's a good hand in the ring, and he'll be on Raw. Why the hell can't another guy be put into that position who is a veteran in the ring, can help some of the younger guys, put them over? Al Snow's that guy.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily want to see him get fired, but if you're not going to do anything with him, let them go. Let them go somewhere else.
I don't think Al Snow's a very good wrestler, actually. I mean,
What?
I really don't. I think he's funny. I think he has a really good character. But I don't ever remember him having any really good matches in the WWE.
I remember one match back when he was in ECW with Shane Douglas for the title. This was at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York or whatever. It was on TV, not the pay-per-view bout they had. It was just a great match. It told a story. Douglas was a decent worker. Imagine that back then.
He was also had a lot of injuries at the time. Go figure.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing about Al Snow when he came to WWF, he got one-dimensional real fast. I mean, very, very one-dimensional.
When you're putting a feud with Too Cool at the time, with Jerry Lawler getting pinned by a Head and Shoulders bottle, there's not a lot you can do to compensate.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you, Jim. I do think it was one-dimensional. I think it's obvious the one-dimensional characters work in ECW. Just to go back to Taz, I mean, and maybe I'm just a moron, but I still have faith that they're eventually going to do something with the guy. I just don't think they have a spot for him right now. And if you really think about Taz, he's getting a better push than actually a lot of the other guys are getting. He's on TV every week. Every week he's on television.
Yeah,
every week he gets to talk, and every week he gets to develop his persona.
He doesn't really do the talking. He asks the questions, Brian, most of the time.
If you watch Heat, he does all the talking. And this is an opportunity right now. This is a new character for Taz. I mean, he was always sort of like the tough guy in ECW, but now he's sort of like a little different, a little bit more of the sillier, dumb guy. And I think that's a good role for him. I seriously do still think they're going to do something with Taz. I just don't think they have the spot for him right now. So why bring him in and push him into something and do the start-stop thing with him when you can keep him off television, keep him in a role that's going to extend his career 10 years, and just do it that way. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It may be debilitating for him as far as that goes. I mean, look at Lawler. Lawler's funny as hell on color. But the thing is, you can't push Lawler in a serious feud with the world. Why would you?
Well,
He's
Lawler
old.
was also 50.
But the thing is, if he was younger, you couldn't, just for the simple fact that I just think the broadcasting hasn't really hurt him, but it's hurt any chance he has of becoming, that top main event player. But like you said, he's 50. If he were younger, it still would be the same case.
That's why I don't think Taz has anything to worry about.
Now, don't forget here, we're just projecting these picks. I mean, the WWF is not looking to fire anybody. Let's bring that up, right?
They do watch the show, though.
No,
Jim.
they are looking to fire guys.
Oh well, I stand corrected. I'm going to give you one that's kind of it's one of those, as football phrases it, salary cap firings or waivings. I'm going to go with X-Pac. Because, we disagreed. I mean, we shouldn't really debate it that much here, but, here's a guy, high salary, out for forever, and you never know if he's going to be motivated. I mean, that's, again, one of those things, if you're looking to do some serious cutting into your salary base, that'd be the one pick I'd get.
Can I say 3 things to you why it'll never happen?
Why?
Shawn Michaels, Triple H, just incredible. He ain't going anywhere.
Oh, I know that.
Okay.
I didn't even think they were going to even consider it even without those guys.
Yeah, I know. It's just hypothetical.
Well, I want to throw one more up, and this I think he's a great wrestler. The only reason I'm saying he should be fired or at least cut is because I'm very bitter right now over his gimmick, K-Quick. He is, honestly, he's a great wrestler for as young and green as he is right now. He has so much unlimited and untapped potential, but he's a rapper. Why does the WWF feel, okay, he's black, let's stick him with his rapping gimmick? Okay, he can rap better than Road Dogg, but so can I. I mean, Road Dogg's from the South, for God's sake. But the thing is, get serious with K-Quick in time, hopefully.
He needs a heel turn. That's the only thing. It's like The Rock.
What? You stole my lyrics like Milli Vanilli?
Yeah, who's going to care about him as a heel, though? I mean, nobody cares about him now.
Yeah, but, we said the same thing about The Rock, 4 years ago. I mean, he was also into a situation where he was painted into a corner with his babyface character, and people militantly hated him.
Yeah, but
the heel turn helped. I mean, you never know.
That may be lightning in a bottle. I mean,
it might be.
That may be one of those occurrences never to happen again as far as The Rock goes.
Just throwing another name along those same lines. How about Perry Saturn? Here's a guy that doesn't look like he's ever going to fit in.
Yeah, but
he did just dye his mustache, Jim.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't even think about firing him right now. The guy has way too much potential. But here's a guy, what has he done? And is he ever going to do anything?
I'll add 3 more guys before we head out here. Tiger Ali Singh, Chaz Warrington, and D'Lo Brown, who D'Lo really, 2 years ago, seemed like he was just ready to explode, and he's just gotten lazy. So I'd trim them.
Can I say Teston Albert real quick?
You're nuts. Somebody send us out.
Well, we'll be back next segment. I guess we're going to talk about a little bit about the first couple games, actually, of the XFL and who got hurt and why Rennie is out again. So come back. That boy was awful.
That was pretty bad.
Well, the L was bad. But what'd you guys think of the league? I mean, the first games aired over this past weekend. I actually enjoyed it. I thought the quality of football could probably get a little better, but as far as the critics, oh my God, they're going to have a ritual sacrifice on the 50-yard line, we didn't see any of that. I liked it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think it was too bad. The play wasn't great. It was a little sloppy. I mean, you got to remember this is the second game these teams have ever played together. They had one exhibition game. So I think it was about as good as you could expect. But, I mean, I hate to tell you, but the NFL wasn't very good this year. And I think a lot of the play, especially the playoffs, were dreadfully boring. And I watched every second of the playoffs. Bad football. But you know what? I was entertained. I mean, the package I thought was good. The opening of the XFL. Did you see the? I know, Jim, you didn't see the opening. Did you see the opening of the XFL?
Were we talking about the Vince McMahon introducing the league? And
yeah. Did it look like the freaking Super Bowl?
Yeah. I mean, it was deafening. It's just funny because you have two kinds of people who chant, well, basically what they chant at Vince McMahon at Raw. Right. When he comes out in the XFL, they just cheer him to death. Those people get the XFL. They understand the concept involved. It's those morons out there and the critics, like I said, the ritual sacrifices, who don't get it.
Now, I know, Jim, you had a little bit of some different views on the XFL.
Yeah, I don't know if I was entertained as much. Shut up, man. Beat the hell out of you.
Yeah, next year you're going to want tests to be released.
Right. But I think they already made some changes that I disagree. Like some of the package changes, camera angles, interviews, and whatever. I think the real concern here is, like you said, I think the quality of play has to improve. And I think the thing I'd be concerned with is we mentioned the level playing field for everybody skill-wise, but I saw a lot of offense that was out of sync Saturday night. New York, for one, they looked horrible. Las Vegas. Oh, well, they scored 19 points, but still, most of what I saw.
They had a good first half.
Yeah, they looked out of sync, even in the second half after scoring 19 points. Maybe it's something you can improve. The teams can improve on. I think, hopefully, they will improve on, or we're in for some bad football. And nobody's going to watch. I don't care how many innovations you have. Nobody's going to watch if it's bad football.
You bring up a really good point, but I just think over the course of the 10-week season, I mean, I would hope that the offense and defense do start clicking and start getting better. I mean, if you don't, obviously, people in New York aren't going to go out to the New Jersey, whatever they're called, Hitmen games.
Real quick, let me throw this in real quick. One of the things that I was concerned about, we talked about in the past weeks, is attendance for each individual game. I think that was pretty much laid to rest over the weekend.
Yeah, they actually at the and this is I don't understand this now. The stadium they played at in Orlando, they actually had to turn people away, which was funny because if you looked at the top tier of the stadium, it was empty. Now, I don't know if maybe it was they didn't hire enough people, if they didn't hire enough ushers, they didn't hire enough security, what it was. But, perhaps I guess maybe just the way the stadium was set up. But Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas was freaking rocking. It was ridiculous. I mean, really, you would have thought it was a wrestling event. But, nonetheless, we're going to go to a clip actually right now of the Chicago Enforcers Orlando Rage game, which NBC
exciting game Saturday night. Right?
Yeah, NBC cut to this game once the Las Vegas, New York, New Jersey game was pretty much determined. The ratings actually were very nice for NBC. They started off with like a 13-point something, but as the game started to get drier and drier, the ratings went down into I think the 8 area.
Overall, 10.1, I believe. Something like that. 10.1, 10.5 range.
But we should also point out, in AP articles ran earlier this week, actually, I think it was either Sunday or Monday, NBC and the WWF, well, I should say Vince McMahon, actually, were expecting 3s, 4s, or 5s. So obviously, I mean, a little more swagger in the step Monday morning, maybe on Raw, I think so.
Well, I think it's important this weekend that they hold those ratings. I don't know how much of a gain they're going to get because I think there's a lot of people just watching for the novelty of it. But this weekend, as we're in the midst of, is huge. They gotta hold those ratings.
Well, the novelty of it will bring people in. The play will keep people there,
yeah.
And it is imperative that they do get better. Obviously,
in
the upcoming weeks.
Well, let's put it this way: they're not going to maintain the rate. They're not going to maintain a 10. That's not going to happen, and they know that's not going to happen. I think as long as they can pull off a 4 on NBC Saturday nights, I think you can deem it a success. And as long as UPN you can stick around a 2 or a 3, and the same with TNN, I think you can deem it a success because you can still make money. I'd like to just jump to a different type of topic right now with the XFL, and that's some of the critics we had talked about. There was a column by Bob Ryan, I believe he writes for the Boston Globe, over the weekend, and it just really shows you where some of these guys come from. And this is going to sound hippie-like, but I guess the NFL they deem as it's like the establishment, and you can't talk bad about the establishment and talk about something new. But God, Bob Ryan just really looked like an old man. It was just I thought he was crying at the end of the article, like, please don't succeed.
Bob Ryan, actually, I heard him on the Monday morning or morning radio spot, he pretty much called Vince McMahon one of the 6 people out of 6 billion who don't deserve to breathe, or something to that effect.
Was I number 3?
You were 4, I think.
4. I can handle that.
Which I'm not sure how Bob Bryan gets this show.
Well, a little on those lines. I was looking for highlights that night. I watched some of the game. I was in a bar getting loaded. But I watched some of the game. Couldn't hear the audio. Well, that's not true for all you loyal viewers out there who think of me as like a cultural icon. Couldn't hear it. Was looking for, anyway, make a long story short, looking for some highlights. Turned on All News Channel or something like that. It comes on I think it's ABC, WTAE. But the guy, his first name's Wally. I can't for the life of me remember his last name. He goes, I'm sure, something like that.
Just kidding.
I don't know. You quit screwing around with me. Anyway, he goes, I know all you sports fans, this is about 3 in the morning, mind you, want to watch all these XFL highlights, but we're not going to show them till the end. Ta-ha. Why? Why would I want to see Pitt Duquesne basketball? I'm sorry, it's decent basketball, but the thing is, with the new innovation in the league, it just shows how far behind these people are. Just accept it for what it is, show the damn highlights, so I can go to bed.
Yeah, we can actually cut this clip. We're pretty much done with this.
I think there's 2 points real quick, actually getting close to the end of this segment, I want to bring up. I think the one thing they got to point out to everybody, the former NFLers in this league who may or may not do well, John Avery and Jeff Brom, 2 guys who did well. And I think they need the breakout single stars. Like, again, John Avery, Jeff Brom. There's a defensive player on the Las Vegas team who seems to have loads of personality and also a pretty good football player from what I saw.
Well, the other thing I'd like to say, just bring up, and this is the same thing Bob Bryan brought up, and everybody's brought this up about like what whores the cheerleaders were going to look like. They just pounded that point. You know, I saw 3 games. They didn't look any trashier than the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. That's softcore porn. I'm sorry, but you know, everybody railroaded that the next morning too about how trashy the cheerleaders looked. You know what? They were scantily clad, but so were the NFL cheerleaders. So were the NBA cheerleaders. Sorry, guys. You know, let's call a spade here.
I'll just take it out with this. Just accept it for what it is. You'll be better off. We'll be better off. So there you go. But I think we're going to come back next segment with our world-renowned and famous rants. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss it.
What 2 things about the XFL that really, really annoyed me? The first is the announcing teams. There were some good and some bad. I think this is the one area they definitely need to improve. I think it's the one area they definitely have to improve. I think the one thing they need to do in this area is get announcing teams that can have all week to spend on the games and work with each other and rehearse and things of that nature. Just research into the teams in the football game. Jesse Ventura can't do it, and he sounded horrible. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler obviously can't do it. Jim Ross didn't sound too bad. Jerry Lawler, I don't know if he knows anything about football. I don't know how much he knows. He was in character like he was on Raw, and it just doesn't work. The other area I want to talk about is they're pushing down our throats. Smash mouth football. Smash mouth football. Every play is, oh my God, what a shot. What a slobber knocker of a shot. Oh my God, what a hit. What a shot. You know, that's great. I know that's the XFL calling card, but there's a lot of aspects of football that you can and probably should enlighten everyone else to. I mean, there's finesse, there's agility, there's athleticism, and soon to be personality, I'm sure. And you saw all that over the weekend. But the problem was, like I said before, you keep throwing Smash Mouth football in our face, and people are going to get annoyed by it. And it's important to note, in the Smash Mouth League, the biggest star probably all weekend was John Avery. All 5'9" and 180 pounds of him. Not exactly your Smash Mouth football.
Well, I think also Smash Mouth football, though, also has to do with the running game. So I think the offensive line would be...
Oh, yeah, they get some credit for what he did, certainly. But I'm just like, John Avery, not exactly a power runner.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Wow, that was strange.
Your
all
turn.
Of a sudden. I'm just going to draw earlier what we talked about with ECW and just make another plea to Paul Heyman. You know, I think the time has come for ECW to have its swan song and to, you know, go off quietly into the night as the most influential wrestling force in the last 20 years. But I really do think that Paul Heyman on the WWF booking committee can greatly benefit that company. You know, he has had a lot of things he's had to do the last couple of years. He's had finances and things like that. And I don't think that's, you know, on this show before I've said I don't think that's any excuse for the lackluster creative quality that ECW has gone through the last couple of years. I don't think that's any excuse. I mean, that's the situation where you get somebody to help you. And clearly that didn't happen. But Paul Heyman does have a great wrestling mind, and he's a guy who can be invaluable to any company. Jim Ross, you know, as mentioned earlier in his Ross report last weekend, said that, you know, if Paul Heyman comes aboard, he'll drink his Kool-Aid. You know, to me that sounds almost like mass suicide, but nonetheless, obviously the point he's trying to make is that Paul Heyman brings a lot to the table as far as being a wrestling mind. The WWF creative team is made up of television writers, people who are used to writing TV scripts, who are writing things like that, who don't necessarily have that inherent wrestling knowledge needed in order to make angles make sense, to make feuds make sense, to book something seriously like a light heavyweight division. They just don't have that ability to do that. And as much as we, get on them on this show about that kind of stuff, they're basically doing what they can do right now. But I think if you bring in Paul Heyman, then I think signing a guy like Tajiri is not as much of a worry as it is right now, because Paul Heyman will know what to do with Tajiri. He'll know how to book him. He'll know what type of matches to put him in. And I think for guys like Dean Malenko and S.A. Rios and and Kai and Tai, some of the smaller guys in the company who can benefit from a light heavyweight division, having Paul Heyman on your booking team is going to be just invaluable. He'll know what to do. He'll know how to get the light heavyweights over, and he'll know not to have Scott Steiner come out and put 3 of them in a camel clutch. So I'm just going to make one last plea. If Paul Heyman's watching in his basement somewhere, you've done a great job with ECW. You're a visionary, and you're responsible for almost everything that's happened in this industry. But take some of that expertise, go make some great money, and go to the WWF.
Thank you, Brian. I couldn't have said it better myself. But anyway, I'm going to tackle a little bigger of a demon this week, and I'm talking about none other than Phil Mushnick. He was on Jim Rome this past Monday. He had Jim Rome, Phil Mushnick, I believe the GM for the Vegas Outlaws, and the coach for the Vegas Outlaws. I may be mistaken. But anyway, as much as Jim Rome hates Vince McMahon, and it's a well-documented truth, he was actually backing the XFL, citing the only problem with it, basically, was the lackluster football that we did see. I agree. 19-0 blowout like Jim brought up, we brought up on the show. Just the teams need to start clicking. The offense and defense need to start getting better. Phil Mushnick wouldn't hear anything about it. The XFL is the downfall of society. It's why 8-year-olds go out and kill other people. It's why people it's so asinine. I am so sick of Phil Mushnick. It's ridiculous. He writes for TV Guide, but he doesn't have a problem writing for TV Guide when there's wrestlers on the cover of it. Uh-oh. A discrepancy, I think. But Phil Mushnick, just as far as the scangly-clad cheerleaders go, I believe I'm saying that right, you're going to have that no matter what. Like Vince McMahon said in many different interviews prior to the XFL's beginning, sex sells and you can never have enough sex. It's the truth. And Phil, if you want to go live in Guatemala or Borneo where a man with $2 is king, Jim.
All right.
So be it. We'll be a lot better off as far as that goes. But I said it last segment about the XFL. I'm going to say it again, and I will continue to say it to anybody that comes up to me on the street. So be forewarned. Accept it for what it is and just enjoy it. If not, turn the freaking channel off and put Dawson's Creek on.
You know what I've always said, I don't know if I'm sure you agree, Phil Mushnick's not a writer, he's a protester.
It was so asinine, him on there. Jim Rome, like I said, he was the actual mediator. Mushnick wouldn't, I don't even know. Phil, the demon, he would not shut up for the entire duration of the show. And believe me, I mean, I don't want to see the guy's throat get slit or anything like that, but the day his pen breaks is a great day in American society.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, hopefully we haven't been hopefully we haven't faded the black yet. But in my column this week in the Daily News, I'm going to be talking about wrestling. No, just pick it up. It's a mystery. It's a big mystery column. Check it out on the internet right now. It's www.dailynewsmckeesport.com, or go check it out on the internet.
And for the, severely injured Rennie Detour, I guess, I will plug his column right now in very good fashion. He will be writing about wrestling also. Don't know what it's about right now, but he is an obvious writer, according... Sorry, Rennie, I'm just kidding. It'll be great. When's his column come out? This Sunday in the Tribune Review, the Pittsburgh Trib and Greensburg Trib. He says the website all the time, and I can't remember. triblive.com/sports.
Well, you know what? If you're on the internet, you only need one website, and that's ProWrestlingReview.com. So go there. We have Raw, Nitro, SmackDown, Thunder, columns, questions. You ask for it, anything you possibly want, we have it.
And also, don't forget ExtremeView.com. That's the core website. That'll be kind of retooled over the next couple weeks.
Also on the ProWrestlingReview.com website is a place to respond to us via email. I love that word, via, by means of. But if you have any ideas on the XFL, what you thought of it, anything we've said here, any question, any improvements for segments, any ideas for segments, let us know. You'll find the icon on the home page.
Tom, why don't you send us out?
And you also find this icon on the home page. So for myself, Brian, and Jim, and Rennie, we'll see you next week, buddy. This has been the Pro Wrestling